Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're here with Jason Nelson from Crypto Insights Journal. How are you today?
Hey Scott, how's it going? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before we dive back into all the crazy stuff going on right now, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you've already been on the show, but for anyone who hasn't already, seen our first talk, which they should go back and check out, do you just want to share a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a freelance journalist and writer. I cover cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and Web 3.0. Been in the space since 2016. Seen a couple of interesting highs and lows.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much what I do now. I transitioned from a 9 to 5 to pretty much only writing about crypto in 2019. So it's been pretty much every day just in the space.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm still on my way transitioning from the 9 to 5 to just going full into this space. So it's always good to talk to other creators who are actually living that out. And I'm sure, especially a lot of people in my audience are particularly interested in being able to do exactly that. So it's always good to have people on with that exact experience. And then how did you actually get into crypto originally?
So it was interesting because I was reading Atlas Shrugged, and they there's a section, of course, the people are leaving to go live outside of society, and so my question was, well, how would you do it? Like, how would you do commerce if you're not inside the system? And so I messaged the head of the Atlas Society. Her name's Jennifer Grossman. Like, what would we use? Like, will we use Bitcoin? And I asked her what Ayn Rand would think of Bitcoin, and she said that she didn't know, but let's ask Naomi Brockwell. So she tagged Naomi Brockwell in the tweet, and then I started talking to Naomi, and then it just kind of developed from there. That was June 2016, and
Yeah.
it's just been a rabbit hole ever since.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, because I got in late 2018, so that was a very unfortunate time for me to get in. I'm sure you got in just before the crazy hype started, but yeah, like you said, it's been quite a roller coaster for the last little while, and we'll get into all that good stuff about Bitcoin. But before we dive into that, I'm curious what's your approach in general when you're deciding, what cryptocurrencies to invest in, and like what do you look for in what is kind of like your key things that you need to see when you want to invest in something.
Well, I have to be clear about something, is that I'm not a trader or investor or anything like that. I'm a journalist. I'm a writer.
Hmm.
So for me, I I look primarily at Bitcoin, Ethereum, the cryptos that are actually have a market, like a real world market. And
Hmm.
not to say that other cryptos don't have a real world market, because Litecoin is doing all kinds of crazy things. But if someone were to pay you in a particular crypto, what could you do with it except change it into Bitcoin or Ethereum? Right. So for me, I pretty much focus on Bitcoin and Ethereum as this is what I'm going to have personally. Now,
Hmm.
that's not to say that you can't get into the thousands of other cryptocurrencies out there. By all means, knock yourself out. But what can you do with it besides wait for it to pump? Is how I look at the different cryptocurrencies. So for me, it's pretty much Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, something that I can actually buy food with.
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
that's just the
Yeah.
way I view it. And for me, I think it's safer that way. Like, I still have, like, when I write most of my articles, I get paid in regular money, just USD. So I still have a need to interact with USD. I'm not one of those crypto savages who I just live off of Bitcoin. I'm not one of those guys. So I try to keep it as simple as basic as possible without getting too lost in the weeds.
Yeah. No, and I mean that makes a lot of sense to me because I'm pretty similar in that I've probably got like 90+% of my investments in Bitcoin and Ethereum as well, just because those are kind of like your blue chip cryptos, and they have the network effect. They've got all of the applications, all of the development. And I mean, I've always looked at it just through the case of use case. And like you said, if I can't actually spend it or do something with it, it's always funny to me when people are like, well, yeah, you could always, trade it for Bitcoin or something. It's like, well, that's not a use case. That just
that's not a use
means
case.
that just means that. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I just did a video on that for Doge because people would say, oh, but you could trade it for something else and then do what you need to do. And it's like, well, that's not a super useful way to actually have currency. So I subscribe to what you're saying, like with holding Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash or, something that you can actually transact and be able to actually buy groceries and things like you said. So what about Ethereum and Bitcoin really gets you excited, and like why are you mainly focused on those two?
Well, like I said, I can use it to do everyday things with. With Ethereum though, I don't see Ethereum more as a commerce type cryptocurrency because of all the things you can do with it as far as contracts and things like that. It's a business crypto. It's meant for, like for example, NFTs, right? NFTs, Ethereum is perfect for that. In fact, most NFTs are on Ethereum because of the way Ethereum works with smart contracts and all. So it's an enterprise, I think, focused crypto. As much as we kind of shy away from using that word, it is. It's great for business. It's great for commerce. It's great, like high level commerce, not buying bread commerce, but starting businesses and corporations on Ethereum seem more of a use case for that because of all the things you can do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, those are more transactional. Bitcoin in and of itself is, I think, slowly moving away from transactional because of the value of it until we start breaking it down in Satoshis. I think in the next 10 years or so, we're going to have to start talking about Bitcoin in terms of Satoshis if we ever want to use it as a form of commerce.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not going to spend one Bitcoin on, a night out at McDonald's unless you have like 20, 30, 900 people with you.
Yeah.
Right? You're not gonna do that. But if you have a certain number of Satoshis that equals $20, you can have a night out with that, So we're going to have to change how we look at Bitcoin if we're going to use it as anything other than a store of value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've always seen Bitcoin more as gold. So do you see it being more of leaning towards, like an actual currency or being more to gold? Like, what are your thoughts? Do you think it'll always be able to cover both, or do you think it's kind of going more towards that just store of value as its use case?
It's going more to store of value. I mean, and that's not to say that you can't use Bitcoin, of course. We all know you can use Bitcoin to buy things. People do it all the time. But with a price tag of upwards of $50,000 right now, one Bitcoin as a form of purchase is not feasible. 0.003 of Bitcoin is. So you'd have to use Bitcoin BTC as the store of value and then Satoshis as the commerce, for the commerce, right? So it would be like, okay, I have 3 gold bars, but then these dollars used to represent these, 3 gold bars. It would be something like that, but I don't know how likely that is because people like the idea of saying I have Bitcoin instead of saying I have Satoshis. I think it would take some some doing to get people to wrap their heads around breaking down Bitcoin that way on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, because I just find that like with the transaction speed and fees compared to other things like you mentioned, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, stuff like that, just kind of makes those more feasible. But at the same time, I'm sure there's a lot of Bitcoin maxis out there that would say, no, you should just use Bitcoin, or, people who are, pro Lightning Network. What are your thoughts on the Lightning Network? Because me personally, I haven't tested it out very much. I see that it's definitely useful, but I haven't really gotten in the weeds very much and like tested it out.
I've played around with Lightning Network. Like it's been a while, but during the last Bitcoin conference in 2019, there's a lot of people doing things with Lightning. And I like the idea that it makes Bitcoin transactions a lot faster, but there's also the learning curve on how to set it up and how to send it. Because the first time I tried it, I was confused. I'm like, what do you mean I have to open an invoice, send the Bitcoin to it, the invoice gets filled? I was totally lost in it. So, if it can be simplified as to not necessarily the process, because the process actually is simplified. It's not hard to do, but the explanation of how to do it needs to be simplified, put in layman's term for the everyday user, because it can get confusing. And God knows we don't need anyone else losing Bitcoin into a system, just the internet just because you didn't understand what was going on. I mean, if you think about it, crypto in 2021 is light years easier than it was in 2016, 2017, 2018 to do, because when I first got into crypto, you actually had to type in the address still.
True.
And if you copy and paste from, right click and hope you got the whole thing or whatever. Whereas now the apps come with click here, we copy it automatically. You can paste it to wherever you want. Or you can scan a QR code. It's a lot easier than it used to be. So when you introduce things like Lightning Network, you need to make it that easy. Otherwise, people are just going to be like, I'll just wait for my transaction to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely already not super easy for, people who are very, very new. So I don't see a lot of people diving further into it. I mean, I still cringe if I'm sending like a transaction more than like $500, and I still, it's still like the psychological thing where you're like, there's the slightest chance I mistype something, and you check it like 3 times, and it's hard to get over that. But I think it's getting easier and easier when we have things like ENS, like Ethereum domain names, or like unstoppable domains, and they're making it way easier where it's like you just type in the domain or whatever, like scottcbusiness.eth, and then it'll say this is the correct address, and if you misspelt it, it would say this isn't correct, you've misspelt it. I mean, obviously eventually there might be problems with people buying misspelt domains, but that's probably not going to be an issue for a very long time.
Make sure you're spelling it right.
yeah, exactly. Right, because you send it to Elon Musk, but there's 2 Ks, and then that just sends to some random person who bought that. So what are your thoughts on DeFi?
Well, DeFi is my bread and butter right now. So it's pretty much primarily what I write about. I do freelance work for Decrypt. And, decentralized finance, I think DeFi is where this space is going. You see so many DeFi projects being rolled out on a daily basis. Bitcoin is DeFi as well. If people, for some reason, get locked into Ethereum and DeFi, Bitcoin is DeFi too. It's decentralized finance, right? Finance money. Okay, we get lost in the weeds on acronyms and phrases, but crypto in general is decentralized finance. Now, what I like is a lot of these DeFi projects are becoming behind the scenes type projects where they give you a product and you have no idea it's crypto related. And I really want to see more of that, because I really think that's how we're going to get mass adoption. Because people don't want to, a lot of people don't like the idea of dealing in crypto. So if you can create a product that is efficient, easy to use, easy to market, easy to add to app stores, it can be blockchain crypto related, be embraced by the masses, and they never have to worry about am I holding a security or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I think if we start getting more projects like that, I think DeFi is going to become very commonplace, and it's going to take the world by storm more so than it already has.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any specific projects you'd like to shout out or mention?
Well, I don't know if you would call LBRY or Odyssey a DeFi project. I guess you would, because of the LBC token, but they're the best use case right now for a blockchain platform, because they are doing everything you can do on YouTube, but it's more user friendly, it's more creator friendly. You get paid, content creators get paid as soon as you upload something. You can start getting paid. So of all the platforms, I think they did it the best. They're the first. They're not the only, but I think that Odyssey, the team at LBRY, is so far number one in my book as to a DeFi project.
Yeah, and yeah, they've been doing a lot lately. I know they just kind of released I don't know if it's beta or exactly, but like live streaming is starting to become a big thing there now. So I may have to do my first live stream on LBRY because I've never actually done a live stream. So I guess I might have to finally do that and do it on LBRY for sure. Because yeah, they're doing a lot, and that's interesting because my next question was around crypto social platforms. How long have you been on LBRY now?
I've been on LBRY. I think they came out in 20. I was one of the first to actually upload to LBRY.
Okay.
To the point where they actually sent me a plaque saying thank you. It's actually pretty good. I have it in the other room.
Okay, yeah. I've got it. I don't know if you can see it, but right there.
Yeah. So I can't honestly say one of the first. I have no idea who the first were, so I can't really say.
But, pioneering the platform, more or less.
They pioneered, right?
Yeah.
So I've been with LBRY for a long time, back when it was still LBRY.io, and then they switched to LBRY.com, and then LBRY TV, and now they're doing away with LBRY TV and staying strictly with Odyssey. And I haven't had any issues yet. It's just gotten easier and easier for me. So that's why when people are looking for, and I hate when people call it a alt tech or alternative to you. No, it's new tech, and it's better than YouTube. I'm just gonna say it. It's better.
Yeah, that's a big thing that they've been drilling on lately, is how everyone always calls it an alternative to YouTube, and we have to switch that to successor to YouTube, or something that really properly
and like that. But alt tech is. It's like, okay, well, I can't afford Adobe Premiere, so I'll go to this free alternative. No, this is it's not like that. You could stay on YouTube. I mean, my channel's on YouTube, your channel's on YouTube, but we don't let YouTube dictate where our content lives.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whereas, and I tell people, even complete 100% no coiners, sync your stuff to LBRY or Odyssey. Just do it. Even if you don't ever want to deal with LBC tokens, even if you don't ever want to consider getting crypto for what you're doing, have a backup. Have your content somewhere else where people can't just strike it down just because they feel like it. Yeah. And Odyssey is a great platform for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And And like you said, like even if you're not interested in crypto, it's good to just, patronize these alternatives or successors rather. Even I still am used to saying that.
It's hard to saying it, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to, even if it's just backing up your content, even if it's just, reaching a new audience. I think very few people have the excuse of like, oh, well, like, I mean, like, I'm so big on YouTube that this takes all of my focus. I remember when I talked to Andreas Antonopoulos a long time ago, he was like, I don't want to, spread myself too thin. But then like a couple days later, he joined the LBRY, and I was like, nice, I got him.
Well, the thing is that these sites, and it's not just Odyssey anymore, because I want to say BitChute does it now too, where you automatically uploads your content.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and BitTube is another one.
And BitTube, yeah. So you don't have to stretch yourself thin, because I think a lot of people think, okay, I had to do all this to get it on YouTube, so I'm going to have to do the same thing over here and the same thing over here. Well, no, just sync your YouTube channel and it just follows the pipeline. It's actually a lot easier than people think it is. But I think the more of us that go to these platforms, the more people will see it's not that hard.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's also important that you said, like, you don't have to leave YouTube, because there's a lot of people who are on these platforms who are like, no more YouTube ever. But the way that I look at it is, well, I mean, not every platform has integrated embeds for videos outside of YouTube and like Vimeo and Dailymotion. So you limit yourself a lot from a lot of other platforms if you're trying to really spread out your content, as well as if no one's on YouTube telling people about like LBRY and Odyssey, then how are we going to get these people to LBRY and Odyssey, right? So I feel like obviously there still has to be people to, spread the news and make people aware of all these things that are out there. Because I don't think a lot of people go on to Google and type in, what else is there out there instead of YouTube, because they'll probably just type that into YouTube and then they only get whatever is there. And a lot of the people aren't there because they were banned or whatever it happens to be. Interestingly enough, I got my first community violation this week on YouTube for like a 2-year-old video that just linked to vidiq.com, which is just like a YouTube. Yeah, it's just like a YouTube creator extension that just like suggests tags and stuff. It's not like sketchy by any means. And there's like 1 million followers on the actual vidiq channel itself, which links to vidiq on every video. And I was like, how is this like not allowed? This one link that I had on a 2-year-old video that just links to vidiq's website, which is crazy to me. And then their whole channel is like fine, but like I'm getting a community strike as like this tiny creator. So it's very interesting that they are able to like find the smallest thing, and if they want, they can just completely rid of you of the platform, but be like, but you had this one link like 2 years ago. That
let's be clear. YouTube doesn't like crypto people.
Yeah.
And a lot of these strikes and takedowns, they're targeted, and they need an excuse as to why they did it. And if you notice, and because I know you mentioned that you don't do live streams, a lot of the content creators in crypto who get their channels stricken down, it happens during live streams. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that live streams tend to be at the top of the page. Like if you go to your subscription page, the stuff that's live is at the top. And I guess they figure there's more of a chance of something being said or whatever during a live stream that, isn't typically going to happen in a recorded video because people edit those. But it's something that YouTube is doing that just goes after. They do it to crypto channels. They do it to independent journalism channels. And then they come up with some excuse as to why they do it. And then the channel's back. And it was like, okay, so either you don't like what I'm talking about, or your algorithm is pointed in my direction.
Hmm.
One of the two, you know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you said that.
Yeah, I mean it was right after I uploaded a library interview, and like an hour later they're like, actually 2 years ago you had this video where, and I was like, that's a little interesting.
YouTube sucks. Come into that conversation anywhere.
Yeah, maybe that was it. We were just like, no more YouTube, and yeah, and I mean, and I was banned on Daily Motion and Vimeo several years back, just when I did an interview with Unstoppable Domains.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of these places that you would think are not going to you're not going to have any issues on. Yeah, like I was surprised that Daily Motion and Vimeo were like way more intense about censorship than YouTube even was. And yeah, I mean, the best way to protect yourself is to just be on all these platforms. And like I said, I mean, especially if you're not like a big creator, it's better to just have like this distribution to new audiences too. And you'll be able to like reach all these new people that you might have never otherwise reached. So whether it's backing up your content, censorship, distribution, there's so many reasons to be using all these other platforms. Are you on anything else? Like, are you using like Hive or any of these other decentralized platforms?
Odyssey is my main. I use Minds, and
Okay.
I use Twitch, TWETCH, Twitch.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny to me that our tribalism has gotten to the point where we take shots at these other platforms because based on a crypto we don't like. And it's like, well, you understand that there are bigger people who don't like any of us, right? So go check out these platforms and secure your data. You know, don't, the tribalism is just an annoyance that needs to stop. I mean, honestly, it is. You know,
yeah.
Twitch actually has a lot of interesting features that you don't find on Facebook and, you know, other more mainstream platforms. But because it's BSV, we got to talk crap about it. You know, you know, and it's like, well, come on, guys. It's so much. Let it go. All right, just come on. Just try the different platforms. You might like it, and just go about your day.
Yeah, for sure. Although I will caveat and say that I am not a fan of having to pay to like do things on a platform. I think that's the way Twitch works, correct?
But now that's true. And the thing though that I like about that model is that it tends to keep anonymous, if I can curse on your channel,
yeah, go for it. Yeah,
from posting because they have to pay for it. You know, I as much as we don't like the idea of it, I think Twitter would actually be it wouldn't be as interesting, but it wouldn't be as toxic if people had to pay for every tweet that they sent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you have to really think, okay, do I want to pay to tell this to get a one up on this random person? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and true that it does rub people the wrong way to have to pay for everything you do, but it does keep the ecosystem, I think, less toxic than just an open free-for-all.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. So it's kind of just, it's the trade-off between spam and trolls and just a lot of those different things that are solved by having that tiny amount of resistance to kind of just, you know, all those people just wouldn't bother. They'll just go somewhere else. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely see the benefit there. I just struggle to wrap my head around like a normal person coming from Twitter and being like, time to spend money.
Right. Well, that's actually that's where I think their lack of popularity, aside from because the average person doesn't know about the background between Bitcoin and BSV and BSH. They don't know.
Yeah, so they probably wouldn't be like worried about that distinction.
They're not worried about that. You know, Danny Trejo is on Twitch. I don't think he cares about the difference between the different Bitcoins. But yeah, you're right. Having to go from free to paid isn't going to um, attract the same level because people like a free experience. They just do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you weed out the toxicity that way. If there's some type of not repercussion, but in order to post this, you have to, give something up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess it's depending on what you value. If you're really about like the community and like thoughtful interactions and stuff like that, then that might be more for you, and just kind of getting rid of all the toxicity and stuff, because some people just completely avoid Twitter because of that. So maybe then that's an option for them.